long time ago, people decided that things needed a purpose, that each person had to wake up in the morning and have a reason for waking up. Not just survival, but something more than that. Even still today, people search for this reason. We call it our passion. Sometimes we find it and sometimes we don't. It's often the journey to finding it where we discover much more about ourselves than our purpose ever could tell us. Life takes many twists and turns, but in the end, we, the authors of our lives, decide why we wake up. We create our own stories. Inevitably, we construct purpose. Plainville is the kind of typical small town, the kind you see in those indie movies, the one where the boy meets the girl, they have some sort of a complication, and their angst is derived from growing up in a town too small for their ideas. There's forests with horse barns scattered about and neighborhoods that are the typical late 90s cookie cutter. Naturally, there are a few centers of industry, and by centers of industry, I mean plazas with a Dunkin' Donuts or a Target. There's a casino, but all that really does is create more traffic. To put it simply, Plainville is just like millions of other towns in America. It's your average small town, nothing extraordinary. Except for Plainville, there is a corner store market that has stood there since the beginning of the Civil War. Fox Market has stood in the center of Plainville for about 150 years. The building has lasted from the Civil War all the way through the Cold War. It was a general store that sold everything from cast iron skillets to potatoes. Adult residents of the town loved it for the convenience of having a store close to home that provided practically everything they needed. Children loved it because the owner's wife, Merrill Falk, would throw in a little extra candy whenever they bought some. Regardless of why they loved it, one thing was for certain: this store was a cornerstone of the town.
I remember going to Fox Market after church on Sundays. My parents would go in and pick up groceries that we were in need of, that other stores were not open, and I would get penny candy. I remember the back of the store was the meat, the deli part, but the meat where Mr. Merrill Falk would always be. And at the front of the store was a little register, and the penny candy was close to the register. And I also danced with Mr. Falk's daughter, Kim Falk.
Was it sad for you to see this store go from what it was to then this, decrepit building?
Yes. To see it go to a decrepit building looked to me like the center of town of Plainville really had not much to offer. The library was further down. And the funny thing is, years ago I gave some girls in my neighborhood needed a ride, and I said, "Where are you going?" They said, "To the center of town." I brought them down to Fox Market, and they said, "Oh no, the center was like where Burger King is." So there wasn't much there after Fox had gone.
Could you describe the inside of the store, like in more detail if you remember it, where certain things were, or what kind of people were always in there?
Pretty much friendly family faces of Plainville that I was familiar with. I would go in the side door, wooden stairs, and take a left. I believe upstairs was where the Fox lived. I would take a left, and on the far left was where the register was. And I pretty much only visited the candy aisle, the penny candy. I had a friend who lived down on Lincoln Ave, and the big thing to do was to bring like 25, 50 cents over to her house after school, and we'd go to Fox Market and get spearmint leaves for 1 penny.
That's
Worked out, even though we're inland, it's worked out.
We have a pond across the street.
Was there?
I'm Julie Kinney.
And I'm Jeff Kinney. It's really changing this region. It's bringing in authors, internationally known authors, and bringing in culture to an area, to a town that wouldn't ordinarily have that. So that's been fun for me.
Yeah, and I've really liked how it's brought people together. It gives people some fun things to do, some interesting things to do. We have neighbors who said they've even gone and gotten their nieces and nephews just so they can go to story time here. Their kids aren't of that age, so it's just been great for the community.
started building the store, the first difficulty was the problem of perception. A lot of people had very fond memories of Falk's Market, which was last in operation about 17 years ago. And they didn't want to see this iconic building go away. So the first was to convince people to let go and to let us take it down. And then when we started building, it got very expensive. We probably went about 3 times over our planned budget, and it was for a variety of reasons. We had oil in the soil, and we had a water table issue, and it just went on from there. You know, the way that we built this building is as a LEED certified building, which means it's very sustainable. We've got solar panels, we've got a lot in this building that makes it environmentally conscious, but it was expensive and a lot of delays in the construction of the building. In fact, for a long time, the site of the building was just filled with water because we had a water table issue. So for a whole summer, we just had really stagnant water as a mosquito breeding hit. So that was a lot to suffer through, as everybody drove by it or walked by it, and so it was very ugly, and so it tested our nerve a little bit in construction.
And people wondered if we were building a swimming pool in the center of town instead.
Right.
It was really exciting, actually. It was May, it was a beautiful day, and we had sort of an open house, so to speak, but members of the community, leaders in the community were invited to come in and see the space. But the doors were open and many other people started coming in, and it was really crowded, and I believe we stayed open for much of the day, which was sort of not expected. And there were a number of speeches, by Jeff and the architects, and it was quite exciting. People seemed really, really energized.
It was very important to Jeff and Julie to preserve all kinds of history as much as they can. And this photo, unfortunately, we don't have a timestamp on it, but you can see that it's obviously from many, many decades ago. People in their sort of old garb, and you can see a trolley going right through the center of Plainville. And of course, the building is what used to be the old Falk's Market, but what it was, way, way, way before that. And even still, it has that sort of iconic front porch. Which is part of the reason why it was very important to Jeff and Julie to keep the front porch like it is still today at an Unlikely Story. Designed the second story with flexibility in mind. We have this huge open space which can either be used as the whole floor, or we can pull out this door which sort of slides down like an accordion and divides the space in two in case we wanted to have simultaneous functions. You can see on this side we have a stage, and that's actually only half of it. We have many more tiles down in the basement to extend it to twice that size. And that's meant for if we have certain speakers, if we have, say a community theater group who wants to put on a production. Again, flexibility. So whatever comes our way, we want to be able to do it here. Focus on the stage. We have these theater quality lights. And of course a disco ball, that's just for fun. But again, if a theater group wanted to come here, we have the right lighting for them. We have this drop-down screen that pulls down against that black curtain and syncs with a monitor over here and over here, in case you wanted to have the best Super Bowl party ever, or whatever you want to be showing your guests. The lovely balcony, which people really like if they have, wedding or baby showers in the springtime. It's nice to be able to step out onto the balcony for catered events like a baby shower or wedding shower, birthday party, retirement party. When the events are catered, the caterers absolutely love that they have this extra counter space to work with. It's just a furniture unit that's meant to be storage. So. Okay. Again, thinking in terms of flexibility, if we wanted to do yoga classes, which we do here, if people wanted to just throw their sneakers and their wallet in here while they're doing yoga out here. Because he loves his precious Celtics. And then you can see we have another huge wall graphic along this wall.
Oh, this one.
Oh, good. No one's in here at the moment. So this is the management office, and one of the things that's really cool about it is you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 really old-looking doors, and these are actually recycled from the old Falks Market. So we tried to save as much as we could before the building was demolished, and this was among the things that we could save. So we used them as these kind of dividers for the management office between desks. So,
Cool.
this is our basement. Jeff likes to call it the underground because that sounds cooler than calling it the basement. Over on this side is where we do all of our receiving. You can see lots of shelves, lots of rows of all kinds of books that we're taking inventory of, putting them into the system. Hey. We've got a manager office right in there. And over this way we've got all kinds of storage in this giant closet, and then of course our kitchen right through here.
Hi.
All right, so there's all kinds of calls back to history on this floor. There's even starting with the woodwork, the flooring, and the ceiling beams. All of it is all over 100 years old. That's done on purpose. Unfortunately, Falks was irreparable. Even though this was going to be a brand new building, they wanted to make it feel like it had been here for a long time. So they used a lot of old materials, recycled materials, as much as they could, in fact. And the lighting is meant to match the flooring. It's supposed to be this sort of honeyed yellow color. We wanted to make people feel as welcome as possible, really cozy, very New England. I don't know if anyone's told you the story of the logo, but the reason behind it is because when this was Falks Market and Merrill Falk fell ill and he had to shut down the store, this building was abandoned for 17 years. And for 17 years, there was this giant...
The pink elephant?
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. You remember it.
Yeah, my bus used to go this way and then turn, and that was the thing you could see every morning.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So Jeff had this image of the elephant in the window in his head. That's what's represented this town for years, right? The elephant in the window, because this is the main intersection in Plainville. And so he thought it would be really funny to keep that image of the elephant in the window alive as an inside joke for the town of Plainville. And in fact, he wanted to call the store the elephant in the window, but he thought it was just a few too many syllables. So we kept the image, changed the name, and that's how we got our logo. And Jeff didn't even want to draw it, but we said, Jeff, you're crazy. This is your store. You have to draw the logo. And we love the way it came out. And there's some Wimpy Kid inside jokes in there too, because you can see the elephant has 3 spriggets of hair, just like Greg Kepley. And then of course the elephant is reading this red book, and now the first Wimpy Kid book is red. Yes, and it's a little bit iconic. So it's a mix of his two worlds. You can see all these signs along the tops of our walls. So starting with A. Emerson Cash Market, and it wraps all the way around to the right, ending with Falks General Store way over there. And the reason that we posted these signs is because they serve as this really cool timeline representing all of the businesses that stood here before it became an unlikely story, and in fact 100% verified.
Yeah.
So this spot, this piece of land has so much history, and it was very important to Julie and Jeff to represent that in some way. And in fact, all of these signs, with the exception of one, were recreated, but one of them is the real sign that hung here, which is the general store sign over there, that actually hung here in the 70s and 80s. Is a unique table made by Steve Staples, who works just down the street in Rentham. But we had these bins, these red bins, which we actually saved from Falks. And we didn't know what to do with them, but they were in decent shape, so we saved them before Falks was demolished, and we said, well, we've got to figure out some use for them, so we custom fit them to this table so that now we can use them for merchandise.
That's cool.
Yeah,
So recycling and reusing is a big theme.
a huge theme.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely it is, yes.
My studio. This is where I work, along with my employees. And we've got lots of cool stuff up here. It's not complete, so we're still working on it, but we've got some of the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. I just won my 6th one the other day, which is pretty cool. Some fun stuff, some prints like this. This is actually a cell animation from The Simpsons. We have some cool things like that around here. Something new is this Greg Heffley statue, which is Greg in his bathrobe, kind of standing over the heating vent. We have behind him a cheese touch window. Let's see, some props from the movies. For example, in the second movie, Roderick gets a bowl for the dog Sweetie, and he gets it misspelled, so it's Sweaty. We also have somewhere in here the cell phone from the movie. Here's a diary that Greg actually held in the movie, so that's kind of cool. The idea is that we'll eventually open this space up so that kids can visit, kids who are interested in being cartoonists or just fans of the series. We have some neat lighting up here. You'll see these lights sort of swirl all over the place. We've got this big lampshade, which is kind of cool. Over here we actually have a Scrooge McDuck statue, which is a really rare piece. It's the only Scrooge that was ever created this size. And he's a very famous Disney character. The guy who created the character was named Carl Barks, and the first person who owned the statue was Michael Jackson. So this is where I work, and we've got a good view of Plainville, and we're going to keep building it out and making it more and more interesting for kids. We've had a lot of different authors, some celebrities here. We had Bob Ryan, who's a legendary Boston Globe sports writer. We had B.J. Novak from The Office, and he's a children's writer. We had a guy named David Williams, who's a famous celebrity in the UK. He came a few weeks ago. And we've got lots of people that we want to come to the bookstore. We've invited Shaquille O'Neal and Bill Walton and others. Maybe one day we'll get J.K. Rowling. It is sort of a gift in a sense to the town. It's something that we know we're not going to get our money back on, but we love having it here. It's been a very fulfilling outcome of the success of Diary of a Wimpy Kid that we could do this sort of thing.
And it fit our values. That's a big reason we made it LEED certified, and it's a big reason that we wanted to put it here for the community. Those two things were very important to us.
Despite the problems they initially faced, the store continues to be a cornerstone of the town and inspire hope throughout the community.